It's something else. A ward and norm position. The ball entered the field of play in a legal way, and the last player who touched it was the throw taker. Imagine a long throw specialist who somehow managed to throw the ball out over the opposition's touchline. It's the same here. There is no offence to punish.
Welcome to Ref Show Part 2. Lots to discuss in this half of the show. But first of all, we complete the Premier League roundup with our panellists. We referred in Part 1 to Bobby Madley, who was in charge of Bournemouth Everton. We'll come to him in a minute because it was an unusual and slightly embarrassing incident for the referee in that game. But John Moss, often criticised, we mentioned his role as fourth official on the Saturday and praised him. Ref Cam came out fully in his favour in Southampton's 3-0 win at West Ham. 7 yellows in that game. What did you think, Dean?
I thought John Moss had a really good game. John's an experienced referee, and he's been on the Premier League for a number of seasons now. He did the Cup final 2015, and I thought he used his experience well throughout that game. I thought he refereed it very well. And it was a difficult game because you've got two very contrasting teams. Southampton like to play out from the back. West Ham are very direct. So I thought John refereed the game very well.
There were 2 big calls in that. It was 2 penalty calls, and the experts say he got them right, both of them.
Yeah, he did. For me, you know, like you say, he's taken a bit of criticism over time, but I think he was spot on.
Okay, he denied the 2 penalty shouts and stood firm. So well done, John Moss, this week, in the opinion of both Ref Cam and Dean here, and the other Dean, whose opinion counts for a lot less because he was only a player. But what he did do is remember to put his boots on before he went on the field. Is that right, Brian?
Yeah, I did on several occasions. Definitely did.
You never forgot them?
Never forgot my boots. No, forgot other things, but no.
Yeah. Did you ever forget anything during your?
I forgot my boots at a game. Yeah, I was fourth official at Wrexham, and I forgot my boots. I had to borrow them from Brian Little, actually.
Did you?
Yeah.
What? Did you forget your cards ever?
No, never forgot my cards. The clubs wished that I forgot my cards a few times, but I never did.
Whistle? Ever forget your whistle?
No.
Ever? Never?
No.
Right. Bobby Madley, this is for you. You were in charge of Bournemouth Everton. You thought you got away with it, but Sky cameras caught you out. This was the start of the second half. Bobby goes out to the middle to restart the game. What hasn't he got? What vital piece of equipment hasn't he? Well, he's got his boots.
Forgot his whistle, didn't he? Yeah. I think he owes John Moss a drink or two. I think John had to go back to the changing rooms and bring it out. Yeah.
He sent a discreet signal off the field. Get me a whistle. But TV cameras everywhere. You can't get away with it.
No.
I once turned up to interview a manager, Martin Peters, actually, an England World Cup hero from '66, and I turned up without a microphone. How's that? So I fully sympathise with you, Bobby. Okay, more on the Premier League games. Michael Oliver, now he must be red-faced with all the praise he's getting from, his ears must be burning because we're mentioning him.
He's just an outstanding referee. I mean, Brian will see players that he sees at probably a young age coming through the academy and he'll just know they've got a talent. And Michael is one of those referees. He's just naturally gifted. Like any referee, he'll make mistakes from time to time, but he just seems to manage the players so well, moves around the field with ease. I just think he's a really top-draw referee.
And it's reflected by the fact that he was chosen for the biggest game of the latest round of fixtures, the London Derby. Arsenal 3, Chelsea 0. Arsenal superb. And the referees, everybody's talking about Arsenal, not about Michael Oliver, which is great, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that's so, especially when you get such a high-profile referee involved.
Yeah.
It's always nice to know that, you know, everybody's talking about the football that Arsenal are playing, really.
Yeah. Outstanding. That was a description of the referee from Glenn Turner on Ref Cam, who said his game management and foul recognition was superb. So that's great.
He's got to be knocking on the door for a major tournament, Michael. He's just a really good referee.
Great to hear. Yeah. Anthony Taylor too, coming on well, involved in a 5-goal thriller up at the Stadium of Light. Crystal Palace coming from behind to beat Sunderland 3-2. It wasn't his fault. There was a query on a goal here. Should have been disallowed, yeah?
It's probably the only query of the weekend, unfortunately, but there's an incident in the build-up to Sunderland's second goal where Defoe is in an offside position. And I can only think that from the assistant's point of view, he's thought that the defender has played the ball because they're quite close together, the attacker and the defender. Yeah. And I think for any referee, assistant referee who's watching, there's 2 learning points. One, if you've got the microphones, ask the question because the referee's in a much better position to determine who's played the ball. And if you haven't and you recognise the player's offside, then it's better to put your flag up allow play to carry on, have the conversation, than obviously allow the goal to stand incorrectly. But it's a bit unfortunate for the assistant. I think I felt a bit sorry for him when it happened. And Crystal Palace still had a lot of defending to do. Yeah. But Defoe was offside. Yeah.
A week ago, we made a point about the importance of maybe not selecting off-form referees whose confidence was low, and Roger East duly didn't take to the middle in the Premier League over the current weekend. But equally important to select strong and on-form referees for games that might be a bit tasty. And I thought this with Stoke West Brom, sort of a Midlands rivalry, both scrapping away. It was a 1-1 draw. And Martin Atkinson's selection for that just seemed right to me somehow.
Yeah, I think, you're asking for somebody who's going to gain the respect of both teams, and I think he's been excellent so far. So it was the right decision. Just a slight thing with there was, it's good to see that the actual organisation is actually taking time to look after and try and build up referees when they need it, for example, and build back up their confidence. As a player, I've never really been always a referee's best mate, but the thing is, what you realise is, even when you're coaching a match, you realise how difficult a job they've got to do.
Yeah. Well, points well made. There were 7 yellow cards in that, Martin Atkinson, but it needed refereeing that game.
It did, and he also correctly declined 2 penalties, which were good spots where the players slipped. Yeah. But I thought, again, Martin's very experienced, refereed well.
Quick look at the Championship to come, but first, the first use of a video ref to send off a player. That was in a Dutch Cup game between Willem II and Ajax. A home player got a yellow card for kicking out. Then came a change of card to red. What do you think? Hackett's blog talked about a bit of fine-tuning needed here to prevent the error in the first place.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm probably in the minority of people in football that I'm not a big fan of the video review. I like goal line technology because it's factual. Has the ball crossed the line? Yes, it has. No, it hasn't. I think when you start expanding to other areas of the field, Brian could look at a clip and say it's a yellow card. I could look at it and say it's a red. So, yeah, if they're going to use it, it needs to be confined to very clear incidents.
Right, okay, there's a different view. You were nodding.
No, I think two people can have a different agenda on an incident. So yeah. I really feel like, we're getting away from having a flowing game. Yeah. We start looking at American football, where you've got, or rugby, where you've got, you're waiting for the try to come up and so on. But football's a different game.
Mm-hmm. Right decision was reached, so the debate will carry on. Big game in the Championship, huge game, the draw between Aston Villa and Newcastle. There's a tackle in that from John Joe Shelby, which got a yellow card. Yeah. Marginal red, I don't know what you thought.
Yeah, I mean, I thought the referee was outstanding from start to finish. Chris Kavanagh refereed the game, and I think he's the first Select Group 2 referee I've seen. I've not seen them all, but he's the first one I've seen who I thought he could referee on the Premier League. Yeah. If you take that clip in isolation with Shelby, you could argue it's a red card. But overall, I thought he was a really, really solid performance.
Well, via Andy Hogg, youaretheref.com is running a study, a form report on Select Group 2 referees, so watch the website for that, and that was been brought in for the first time this season. I was at Sheffield Wednesday 2, Nottingham Forest 1. How far do you go back in complaining about a decision? Wednesday came from behind. The referee, in this case, was Kevin Friend, Premier League referee, and the Forest manager was furious. The Wednesday equaliser, a throw-in he claimed was incorrectly awarded. That throw-in led to a corner from which Wednesday scored, and then the winning goal, there was an alleged foul at one end, did look a foul actually, but the goal was scored several seconds later at the other. How far do you go back?
Well, I mean, as a referee, you want to get every decision right. That's the first thing, that's what you aim to do. But for a manager to come out and pinpoint a referee for something that happened from a throw-in, from a corner 5 minutes ago, it's ridiculous. And they've got to obviously concentrate on making sure they defend better. That would be my argument. Brian might disagree.
Well, no, he's not going to.
Well, I think the thing is, as a coach manager, you're very aware that the fine margins are the ones that might cost you the job.
Yeah, well, too, he was furious. I can tell you, because I interviewed him after the game. Just finally, very, very quickly, Uden Trophy Director, Dean, exciting developments.
It's fantastic. It's a great tournament. We've got one in Sheffield that's established. We're running one in New York next year for professional clubs under 13s and 15s, and we're also opening a grassroots tournament this year as well in Sheffield as well. So stay tuned.
Stay tuned for
Yeah,
more
stay
details.
tuned.
The two Deans, thanks very much indeed. Thank you to you for watching, and we'll see you again next week. Bye now.